Amazing. I'll let people in as we go through the session, but I think we've got enough people to work with now. So welcome to today's session. As a reminder of what we're doing, we are having a look at how we can engage young people through creative initiatives and answering the core question of what needs to change for more young people to engage in creative and cultural activities. And this is powered by Coastal Catalyst. If you don't know what Coastal Catalyst is, I'm going to give you a short introduction in terms of who Coastal Catalysts are in a minute. But this is a part of our knowledge exchange sessions, which is all about shaping the future. So it's about helping young people access creative careers, empowered by this initiative of opening up opportunities around the coastal corridor. Our knowledge exchange sessions have partnered with us, Youth the Gap, which I'll give you an introduction in terms of who we are in a minute, to craft these sessions to catalyse deeper discussions featuring expert insights on our themes and aims. And our main aims, which are not limited to challenging current thinking, inspiring innovative ideas, setting the stage for focused and in-person problem-solving workshops, which will give you an insight in terms of when they are taking place right at the end of our session. If you aren't aware of Coastal Catalyst, their aim is to enhance the life chances of young people along the Sussex coastal corridor through creative and cultural engagement. Again, they focus on, but aren't limited to, creativity, and that's providing access to inspiring creative experiences, skills and employability, developing skills and experiences of the workplace that open real career pathways, and collaboration. So that's building partnerships that create stronger, more resilient networks and sharing knowledge. We'll be telling you right at the end about how you can get involved with Coastal Catalyst a little bit more if you are interested and are a part of this Sussex kind of coastal corridor if you'd like, and seeing what a partnership entails. In terms of who I am the director and founder of Youth the Gap, and Youth the Gap is a multi-award-winning consultancy that's determined to reimagine the possibilities of education and its curriculum. We do this by working directly with schools to identify gaps and co-create solutions to fix them, and how we say it is youthing them, whilst taking the weight off of teachers' shoulders. We're very proud to be working with a local school and conducting an anti-racist audit at the moment that's having a look at a whole holistic change for the next 3 years. And we've partnered with Coastal Catalyst because we find it really important to acknowledge that the creative sector has a lot of gaps that we have identified, and we're really passionate on seeing these gaps being rectified on not just a kind of Sussex basis, but also on a national and global scale. There's so much beauty in the creative sector and so much prosperity that could be had, but that involves us to be in partnership together to co-create solutions to amend them, which is why we have partnered with Coastal Catalyst in the hopes that we can strive to achieve that. And what have we achieved so far? So we have had a partnership since the start of this year, and within our solution-based sessions, which are our in-person sessions off the back of these online sessions, we have been having a look at each local hub to see how we can spark change within each local area. In East Brighton, we are developing a youth-led creative takeover of a community space, and it's answering that key question of how can local communities provide a safe and trusted space for young people to build the skills and confidence needed for the creative industries. The East Brighton session centered on transformation and turning a historic venue into a vibrant youth-led space, which is really new. And these are some of the things of which it hopes to achieve, such as engaging young people from local schools in a phased programme of creative workshops and work experience, a youth advisory board, and having a look at creative showcases and a public event, co-designed and led by young people. In New Haven and Eastbourne, we're having a look at a whole town work experience festival, and it's answering that question of how can we develop inspiring work experiences for young people that showcase future career possibilities while fostering wider creative thinking and essential life skills. They joined forces to imagine a multi-organisation youth-led work experience offer inspired by the structure of the Art Way Festival. And some of the things of which they are hoping to achieve from that is a menu-style template, enabling organisations to offer modular opportunities that are flexible, meaningful, and aligned with their strengths, looking at co-designing and cross-school collaboration, and a layered design model, which I'm telling you that word came up so much during that session, that supports progression from creative tasters to setting up collectives or businesses with peers. So Bexhill is having a look at young producers and creative changemakers, answering the question of how do art organisations, businesses, and freelance creatives come together to develop sustainable ways to offer work experience to local young people. The conversation focuses on giving young people real power to create the change they want to see. So that's having a look at forming a youth producer panel, hosting a panel conference with live illustration events, and documenting the experience to create a replicable model supported by mentors, youth alumni, and partners. And the last one is Bognor Regis and Littlehampton, and we had a look at esports pathways. How do we design something that makes esports careers visible to young people and credible to their parents? The session focused on a fast-growing creative sector that feels out of reach for many, which is esports. And they are having a look at beginning with in-school taster workshops, introducing young people to esports roles such as commentators, stream technicians, content creators, event producers, and so much more. Supporting schools to build and train their own esports teams, and culminating a youth-led event. So there's a lot that is going on within these solution-based sessions. We are due to have more across this whole year, but it gives you a taster in terms of what impact the Coastal Catalyst Collective are making with each local hub. Now, I think it's enough of me talking. It brings us on to our first speaker, which is Ladajah. And Ladajah is a youth strategist, public speaker, and future lawyer, passionate about putting young people at the centre of decisions that affect them. They are an alumna at the Youth Futures Foundation and has advised a multi-million pounds fund, contributing to national policy work and led creative youth-led projects, including designs and music-based initiatives. So, Ladajah, I'm going to pass this over to you. If we can have a lovely warm welcome for Ladajah, please.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So I'm here to talk to you about the work YFF are actually doing. So the work YFF is a What Works Centre set up from the kind of UK Endowment Fund. And it is to look at what kind of youth unemployment and how we actually get young people into work. Currently, there's a staggering stat of NEET people between 18 and 25. And so what we do is engage with employers to actually try and get that visibility, to actually look at what young people are wanting in work. So what are we creating and how is meaningful work designed for now young people? Some things that we kind of have to look at is actually what are we valuing nowadays? So new generations are no longer valuing the money, the house, things like that. People are valuing meaning and purpose in their careers. And that's where the artists and the creative industry has really been booming, especially when we have AI as well. What actually sets you apart from you and a robot is that creativity we us humans bring. And so I think it's very important to actually get to a place where employers can understand that. And I think one of the good things that it is by giving young people the range and the reins to be creative. So at YFS, we made a zine about youth unemployment, about our lived experiences of barriers into getting into work. And it was a poster, we had many different things such as poems, we had articles, we had a lot of different things that allows it's like a translation bridge between young people and those who are holding power currently, to translate needs into ways that young people can express and to ways other employers and people holding power can bring in together. And so I think that is key for allowing space for expression, not always writing a report, not always doing this, maybe getting young people to giving them the tools, giving them the empowerment to talk about their lived experience in a creative way, to do that poem. And I think the main thing is actually letting go when you're working with young people and actually allowing them from start to finish, setting out your parameters from start to finish, allowing them, taking your hands off and allowing them to take the reins. Another project I worked on was mental health, young Black people mental health and music. And again, we created a zine because, again, young people are not, we don't all fit into one box, or we are creative in different ways. And that's what I love about a zine, is that it allows us to be creative in different ways. We all have our art pieces and they all come together to make something really beautiful. So it's no longer shoeboxing people or shoehorning people, which sometimes can feel like when we have to write a report or we have to do a group project, it can feel like that. And so I think allowing them from start to finish to define what this means, to say this is how it's going to be, and to work on it through is really empowering. Yeah, I will show you some of the zines we worked on. If I share my screen. Then they'll probably see me for a minute. And this is one of the zines. It's Be Life Zine. It hasn't been published yet, if you can see my screen. And this is what a group of young people, we came together to do our different art pieces and to express actually how do we experience music, mental health as young Black people. And this has been something that has brought in conversation, different complex, as you can see. I did one about Sandgate of how drill music stereotypes young Black people. Music is everything, healing it healthy, fashion, music, and mental health. It's so much in there, and allowing for that space of expression has been really good, as well as the one we did at YFF, which is about future focus. It's talking about the barriers to employment for young people face. And again, we have ethnic disparities, we have podcasts, we have poems, and actually to get young people to see into those creative careers. Stop sharing my screen. Allowing them to get into that and allowing them to actually feel empowered from young and feel empowered to be creative. They will bring it into every avenue that they do. And yeah, that's just kind of what the work YFF are doing and the work we are doing actually in merging creativity and translating it into tangible things that we can put out in the world.
That's incredible, Deja. Thank you so much. I think there's going to be a lot of budding questions from that. So people who have joined today, please think about your questions because there'll be a dedicated section at the end where you can ask Ladajah all of your questions around her projects because there's so much to unpack there. And if you don't have questions, I do. So thank you, Ladajah, for that. It brings us on to our next speaker, which they are called Daisy. Daisy is a part of a busy marketing team at the DLWP, of which Daisy will talk about in a minute, who is on the level 4 marketing executive apprenticeship. She works across a range of content creation, but has a particular specialism in illustration. More culture has been Daisy's focus for her apprenticeship and endpoint assessment. So if we can have a warm welcome for Daisy, because I think what she's going to offer for the session is going to be amazing.
Hi everyone. So as Kaya said, my name is Daisy. Just a little bit about me because I think it's quite relevant to what I'm about to speak about. So I'm 25 years old. I'm a marketing apprentice at the Delaware Pavilion at the end of my apprenticeship. And like Kaya said, I work within a small marketing department at the Pavilion. Before working here, though, I'll be quite frank with you, I had no clue what the Delaware Pavilion was, and I had no idea what it offered. But obviously since working here I've grown to like really understand what goes on behind the scenes, and I think what actually we do here is really important, and for that reason it's important that we engage young people. So with that said, one question has stuck with me, and that is, how do we get young people to like feel relevant, this place is relevant to them? And so to answer this question, I worked really closely with our head of fundraising, Jess, who's next to me, to develop a youth membership. Is this screen sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the next slide, please. So just a little bit of context. At the Delaware Pavilion, we realised we were missing 16 to 25-year-olds in our audiences. Our data showed our audience being primarily older, and because of this, we knew this was something we needed to address for our long-term business sustainability. At present, we do have other programs that actively engage young people, like our Blueprint Collective, and that program facilitates creative workshops for 16 to 22-year-olds. But with that in mind, we wanted to try something new, something more for our younger audiences as a way to encourage them to engage with us, because although creative workshops are good, like mentioned before, everyone has different interests, and with us being a multidisciplinary centre for the arts, we kind of wanted to use that to our advantage. And so the idea emerged about this cultural pass that includes everything that we do here, including from exhibitions to our live shows. And really, what it is a reimagining of our current membership. But this one is specifically designed to remove barriers such as cost and lack of relevance. So as you can see, it says for young people by young people. So this membership we called More Culture was built up from by young people. In fact, 2/3 of the team working on it are 25 and under, including myself and my colleague Luke, who helped me to realise the visual branding for More Culture. Essentially, we wanted the service to be authentic to its target audience, so we made sure that they were involved in the process. So early on, when we started developing this thing behind the scenes, we consulted the target audience during a work experience week that was facilitated by Talent Accelerator. And in these sessions, we spoke with college-age students to really understand what they would want from a youth membership from the Delaware Pavilion. And then beyond that, we also, cast the net a bit wider and took some surveys out into the streets of Bexhill to get a more well-rounded understanding of what this thing should be. And so all this information was really vital to, formulating this thing. And just some key findings that we noticed in the developing of this membership is like preferences to like branding. So a lot of the brands that are popular with this age demographic, they're quite bright, they're quite fun, they're quite quirky, and they value things like inclusivity and sustainability. Other things that we uncovered from these sessions were not just to inform the branding, but also the overall marketing strategy. So we uncovered key touch points. Our survey found that 95% used social media as their main source of information. I'm not sure that's a surprise, but it's always good to have it concrete, with Instagram and TikTok being the main platforms. So next page, please. So the result. So we took their feedback into consideration, and this is what we ended up with. As you can see, bright, colourful branding, as I mentioned before. Really, like our existing paid memberships, More Culture comes with a wide range of perks, which you can see below. So you get 10% off discount on food and retail and priority booking on select live events. However, it's different in that it has its own identity and tone of voice, which, like I said, has been designed specifically for the target audience. However, in my opinion, what's most exciting about this youth membership is the chance to win free tickets. And as someone who loves going to gigs, it's like a massive draw. And even when we've spoken to young people about this, they've obviously come back to us and said, yeah, that's great. We love that. So that's something we really want to push. And so we went live in May. And following our first wave of promotion, we gained over 60 members and it's steadily growing. And we've also started doing our first ticket giveaways. So this is very early, and so I'm excited for what the future holds. So of course, like I said, having just launched over a month ago, More Culture is still in its very early phases. And though it's something that started at Delaware Pavilion, More Culture doesn't have to stay specific to here. In fact, we would love to be able to roll it out across East Sussex. You can just imagine one pass that unlocks opportunities at venues across. And, really it's making culture accessible for these young people. And I think that's something that we're all interested in, and that's why we're here. But to be frank, at this point, although we have this grand vision, we're not sure how this might look or how it'll operate. But if that's something that people and organisations would like to get involved with or discuss next steps, please do get in touch with our head of fundraising, Jessica Cheetham, who's right next to me. Her email is on this slide. And we'd love to discover what you want to get involved with, really. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Amazing, Daisy. Thank you so much for that such insightful kind of talk there and what you're doing and clear impact and vision. I'm thinking for everyone in this room today, I think there's a lot of which we can get involved with and definitely support this growing initiative. So do grab the details. I'm also going to be rolling out all the slides that are used today and everyone's contact details. So if there's anything that perks your interest, you'll be able to get in touch with them to find out more information, because we're all about partnerships is one of our key things, and that comes from today. So I'm going to reshare my screen. because it brings us on to our next poll. And we'd love for you, again, to engage as quickly and as honestly as you'd like. And your poll is what sparked your interest or curiosity so far in the session. You can make this as long or as short as you'd like, ideally not an essay, because we'd love to be able to get on to the next speakers and also hear what they have to say and hear all your questions. But if you could spend a couple minutes doing that, that would be amazing. Amazing, I can see one person's answered. Thank you. Amazing, more people. If you're stuck, think about all the speakers and what they said so far. Is there anything that really resonated with you and your organization or the current work that you're doing, or even some things that you haven't even thought of and you thought, actually, I'd really love to develop that within our organization or bring that concept or idea down to the Sussex coast. So again, answer this as honestly as possible. And even if your answer is, I don't know yet, that's also completely fine. Amazing. We've got quite a few answers there. So what I'm going to do is going to move on to our next speaker. If you are feeling like your answers, please do continue to do so. But I'm going to move you on to Tiff. And Tiff is an award-winning music artist, director, and product producer who started her journey in 2019 as a participant on the Circle of Light Youth Music Project. She's a director for organisations such as Offshoots and Sugar Stealers, and she has led the development of Nottingham's first female-led music studio, organised a national youth-led music tour, and implemented the first ever peer-led rock school London qualifications. So if we could have a warm welcome to Tiff, and Tiff, please do take it away.
Let me remind myself to unmute. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good.
Cool. Let me just share my screen. Can you see that? Is that good? Okay, so my name is Tiff and I am 28 years old. I'm from Nottingham. Thank you for the introduction. So Circle of Light project is what I'm here to talk to you about. It's very close to my heart because of everything that it's given me. It's literally been the kind of catapult for every part of my career that's come after it. So I'll kind of talk you through a bit about what it is. Origin story. So it started in 2019 and it was just a 3-week music project that no one really expected to go anywhere. They basically brought 30 young people together in a music studio and a bunch of industry professionals as well, and just threw them all in there, shook it around, and then an album came out. So it was an incredible experience for me because I'd never done music before. I was incredibly shy when I joined this project, and it opened so many doors, not even just on a local level. It just connected me with so many young people. It connected me with so many professional people. And then off the back of that, it's just been like one after another. I've been touring, I've been doing things as a project producer, and I built like a freelance career in that sense, which I didn't even know existed prior to this project. I'm now a director as well, and so all these opportunities have just come off the back of this one tiny little project, which is amazing. Since then, we have done 5 albums in total, with the 6th coming up this year. We've also launched our venue, which is Fishergate Point, based in Nottingham, and it's split across 2 floors. We've got like live venues in there, a cafe, a shop, music studios, all kinds of stuff like that, and it's all youth-led. We've also got the home studio, House of All Music, which is the first female-led music studio in our city. And this was entirely designed and launched by a team of young people, which I worked really closely with to help them get it off the ground. And it's incredible. It's doing really well at the minute. We've got RSL, Rock School London. This one was really interesting. I've never worked in education before, but I was a kind of guinea pig in the RSL process. And so I, as a student, I learned what that process was, and then I was able to take that and teach it to a group of other young people who then led an entire educational program for the next generation of young people who managed to lock in level 4 qualifications off the back of the project that we put on. And it's the first time it's ever been done, so we're super proud of that. Circle of Light on tour. So this is taking everything that we've learned and putting it in front of as many people as we possibly can up and down the country. And we're very lucky to be able to have this funded by Youth Music. The young people basically take their instruments and they put together like a plan of things they want to talk about. And then they go and they sit in front of industry people and organizations who want to learn about how to kind of center youth voice. And they're a shining example of it throughout that whole process. And then one of the things that we're working on at the moment is this bad boy, which is the biggest thing I've ever touched. And this is our kind of international strand that we're trying to implement in partnership with JM International. It's kind of like the Eurovision of the world, but like for under 24s, I think it is. And it's basically just creating international opportunities for young people in the UK that want to do music. And so within all of this, we've kind of created a development pathway for young people to kind of follow and amend and design depending on what it is that they want to do. It starts off with our partnership with Nottingham Music Hub, which is like young people under 16, and then our album project, which they can grow through 16 to 25, which the RSL education strand is connected to that. And throughout that, they have the opportunity to volunteer as mentors, and then they transition to be paid mentors and take on different roles within the project, whether it's social media and marketing or recruitment, anything that is that they're interested in, we kind of create roles for them to explore and develop. And then after that, there's the national tour and the international tour. And following on from the album project is when we start really focusing in on like finding them industry employment. So it's things like putting them in front of different audiences and getting opportunities to demonstrate their skills. And then also focusing in on like their individual development, like where did they want to go, and creating portfolio careers or finding them work if that's something that they are aiming for. We've had so much success with all of this. As an organisation, we've been nominated for quite a few awards, and we've been like a case study for the education sector, and we've been featured in a BBC documentary, because it's all kind of things that have never really happened before in a youth setting. And then in terms of the young people, we've supported so many grassroots artists and released work professionally, and the young people have won national awards, which is just insane. And some of the artists, I think Bicep and Becky Hill, are some of the biggest that they've gone on to work with. So it's kind of like it's working. And the reason why we think that it works so well is because the entire process is very autonomous. And the young people design their entire experience from start to finish. We just build the framework and they fill in the gaps completely. It's very responsive, so there's lots of room for young people to move around and like decide what it is that they want to do. And they get to work on live projects within the industry. They get an opportunity to kind of gain an awareness of the industry in terms of like working with professionals and looking at the different careers that are available. It's peer-led, so it's speaking in their language, and it kind of hits them directly where they need to hear it, basically. There's room for them to experiment and learn themselves, like who they are and how they fit into the channels that they want to grow in. And then there's so many opportunities for them to grow their individual networks as well, with other young people, with professionals, with organizations up and down the country now, and internationally now as well. I may have gone over a little bit there, but that's me, and that's everything that I wanted to mention.
Thank you so much for that, Tiff. I'm sure I have so many questions in my brain. I'm sure many people here do as well. So I'm really looking forward to that section where we can ask all our questions and hear such of this existing success of this project and how you've been able to make it scale. So thank you so much for that. This brings us on to our last speaker, last but not least. This is Christoph. Christoph is a South Londoner, social and media entrepreneur with over 10 years experience leading creative, cultural and humanitarian organisations. The co-founder of Young Creators UK, Christoph funded the formation of the organisation and has co-run YC UK with its young community since the inception of it. As an unfunded non-for-profit with an initiative youth equity model, Christoph has led YC UK through year-on-year growth. So warmly welcome Christoph, who tells you a little bit more about YC UK.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all good. What an amazing set of panelists. So I run YC UK, and I'm going to give you a little bit of our story and then talk about some of the modeling of what we found works. So I started working with young people sort of on the front lines of violence affecting young people with a group that went on to be quite an iconic drill group, and it was very active in the heart of South London gang culture. I came from that background myself, and the thing that astonished me going back into that world to give some time back, having got out of it, was how much worse things had got. Social media and other things, I realised when I was 17, I had to flee London, and I hid in Wales for 2 years to escape the situations I got myself into, and then the realisation that with social media, I would not be able to escape. Someone would have found me on YouTube doing something, and yeah, anyway. So I went back to youth work and I volunteered in my free time. And when I reconnected with the community I was from, I sort of refound my own authenticity. Whilst working there, my own creative career blew up. I landed my first major client, which was Google. That followed with like Chanel, Jimmy Choo, and I had a very rapid rise as a creative director, photographer, and filmmaker. And I didn't leave the youth centre. I felt it was really important to stay visibly succeeding in my community. And then there came the transition point of when I started building my own organisation. I worked out that about £100 was enough to stop a young person going on road at that time. So what I started doing was taking these young men or young people onto sets with me, and I would build systems that would let them enact very technical roles in the production world, and I would just take them in. It wasn't always popular with my clients, to be honest, but I didn't care. That grew very, very rapidly, and suddenly 50 to 100 young people were coming to the youth centre where this guy who worked with Chanel took you on set and lent you his cameras when he wasn't shooting, and we sort of had to form an organisation. So I lent 5 teenagers £5,000, and they pitched, and they formed their own company. What I spotted was a generational opportunity where young people knew something more than the older generation, and that was social media. Suddenly, your generation as youth had something over the olders. And we leveraged that. We started winning clients. We also are from Brixton, an area experiencing gentrification. All this new wealth needed to sound and look like it was from Lambeth. So we started working in cultural translation and finding avenues of bringing that new wealth to the traditional community by using their cultural knowledge as a superpower. And that was sort of the nucleus we built around. They flipped that 5K to 60K in the first year. And in 6 years, we've now supported 10,000 days employment and helped young people earn nearly £750,000 in the UK creative sector. A lot of what's been said is true. What we find is young people need to be in the room as early as possible. If you were designing, you shouldn't be doing for, you should be doing with. In fact, we built our whole company as a toolkit because we're not even telling you how to do things. You come in here and we have something called thread theory here. You come in, you find something you're curious about. We support you with a mentality and a culture that allows you to follow that thread all the way along to landing with a professional set of skill sets. And I think that's really important. Get the people you want to work with in the room as soon as possible. I think for us as people looking to enable young people, listening. It's a very classic thing. But if I want to work with a community, I'm extremely quiet. I wait till I've got something to add. I don't ever presume my voice has value until I understand the community. And then it's asking what I can do, not telling them what I can do for them, you know. And I think it's all about ethos and approach. And trust young people with power, but be very considered in how you support them in taking power. We are kind of pioneering youth equity. This company has been 50% youth owned since founding. And we hope one day the ultimate success of this company is the young people remove me. They retake all my equity and they completely own it. That is the dream. You know, tomorrow I go on paternity. This is my last engagement. And 2 young people will be completely running a 6-figure agency and the largest creative space run by young people in Britain. That is the model. That is the leap of faith. Will I have a job when I come back? I don't know. But I have faith. I've given them the models. They have the systems. Even better, they co-design the models. And I think that's a critical thing. I think co-design is often overlooked. Focus groups are great, but give people models they can shape and build so they can take power with equity. You know, equality is we all get hats. Equity is we get the hats that fit us, the hats that we choose. So give people, especially young people, that right. They know their needs. So I've gone 38 seconds over, so I'm going to pin it there. But that's, I guess, a summary of my key learnings.
Thank you so much for that, Christoph. There's so much I think we can all take away from that, and just how your approach, even just through talking, is very clear in terms of how you lead and the success of YC UK. So it brings me on to, which I feel like I can feel in the room digitally right now that everyone's got quite burning questions, to our Q&A with all of our speakers. So you're welcome to turn off your mic and be the first one to speak to ask a question, or you can put them in the chat box and I will read a few out from here and there. But we have got 10 to 15 minutes dedicated to questions now for all of our speakers. It can be addressed to one speaker, to 2, or to all of them. But please fire away any questions you have, and there's no such thing as a silly question. He's going to be the first. Let's see. Okay, first question on here. How do we involve freelancers? I'm a freelancer. Many/most work in the creative industries are. I've led workshops in the past, but not in my own area. I'd love to get involved and create specific workshops for young people in Sussex, but my time and resources are limited. Okay, burning question. Does anyone have any thoughts, feelings on that, or how to add? Christoph, off you go.
So my own experience was I started involving young people in the process that added value to my creative work. Yes, you can go and do the workshops with them, but I actually found getting them involved in the delivery of the work, although there was a challenge in it, it increased like my own capacity. Obviously, you pay well, but there is room for that collaboration as a freelancer, because it is a very like challenging space. But I found collaborating with youth on projects and bringing them into my own practice was a good way, because then you can earn and learn at the same time. For the young people and for yourself, you know, you get that fearlessness that youth has when it faces a creative challenge, and that is quite intoxicating to be around.
Thank you for that, Christoph. Any other thoughts? Tiff, Ladajah, Daisy?
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a quick thing in here. Like, we work with a lot of the industry people that we work with, that we bring on board to support the young people are freelancers, and we find that they bring so much value, but we're always looking for more. So I think reaching out to organizations like ours, because we need you and they need your experience, and there's a transaction there that could definitely take place. So yeah, just going along and seeing what's out there and meeting people like us.
Thank you for that, Tiff. Any thoughts, Ladajah, Daisy, before I ask the next question?
Yeah, I think on that one, like I have a friend who works in brand strategy, and actually there's quite a lot of research in that in the creative industry. And so what she actually does is I do the research, pays me well to do research, And actually I get to see how the motions, how clients as a freelancer are kind of gotten and how we go through the motions of that. And I think actually just having a task that you probably could do yourself, but actually being like, okay, I'm gonna give this person this and do that. And so they can see actually what it contains.
Amazing. Thank you, Ladajah, for that. Daisy, any thoughts on that, or Jessica, either or?
Yes. It's not something we've like discussed explicitly, but things we have sort of talked about like in passing with involving young people, and this could involve freelancers, is that we've often spoken about doing like social media takeovers for more culture, so that all like the stuff that is being put out is obviously being put out by a young person who is involved in these spaces. So, you know, it involves more ownership and things like that, and then it's a bit more, you know, relevant and authentic to the audience too.
Yeah, really good insight. Thank you, Daisy, for that. Our next question. So what is the very first step in getting young people to take over a space? I feel like Tiff, that's very much catered towards you, and Christoph as well. Any kind of thoughts or feelings on that?
Yes, absolutely. I've been the young person in that situation, and the way that it began with me is just like giving me opportunities to flex what I'm capable of. Just creating pockets for me to learn the ins and outs of what the organization is, how everything works, and then making space for me to, you know, layer upon layer, learn those skills enough so that I can take over and then redesign things in my own way. So yeah, I would say just making the spaces for them to join in would be a good start.
I mean, excellent answer. I think, obviously, I'm going to say this because what we do about equity is like really important. People should own the process. The way I kind of work when I build a space or we collaborate with youth or communities is we communicate all boundaries really fairly, and then everything is open. If you know what you can't do because of safety or what you can't do because of planning, you know, it's like sometimes if you give the people the paper edges, it's easier to draw, you know, otherwise you never stop drawing. So you give the paper the edges and you go, young people, these are the confines of the brief, be it a space, this is the play area. If you can find a good reason to challenge the edge, I will back you and I will hear you and we will take that forwards. Do you know what I mean? But I think it is that. You're exactly right. Let them step into the power. And I think as a practitioner, like, let them scare you a little bit. You know, let them have ideas you don't understand. My company makes things I don't understand all the time, and that's a relief. I'm not meant to get it because I'm not 18 with their worldview, you know, and that's important.
I love that analogy and the way in which you both really worked with that answer. So thank you for that. Daisy, Ladajah, did you have any thoughts on that? Didn't want to exclude you from that.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. So when I do like funding applications, and there's a bunch of young people doing funding applications, we know it's due diligence. It's very difficult, a lot of legal things to actually give away money. And actually, we get the paper, what we can and can't do, what due diligence needs to be done, how many years of accounts they need to have, and from that it's all through brain. And if we believe it should be challenged, we're open to challenge it. So I definitely agree with what Christoph said.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Daisy, did you have any thoughts as a young person in the space? No? Okay, perfect. Thank you. I can see we've got more questions in the box. So how would you approach starting a new creative space? Would it be council space or private landlord? Finding a space seems to be the hardest part. Any insights, everybody?
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough. Both of them have their ups and downs, I'm not gonna lie. Like private is incredibly expensive. Council space at the moment is incredibly uncertain. But the only advice I think I can give here is like just try and be as resourceful as you possibly can and think outside the box. the space we had, it was a mess when we found it, and it was a private landlord, so we've had to make some compromises in a lot of ways. But yeah, every obstacle we've come across, we've managed to work around, and it's become something really quite special. So yeah, I guess the only thing I can say is just like, give it a go. That's what I've got. I'm really sorry.
Any other thoughts on that? Any other speakers? Christoph? Yeah.
So we've had a few different spaces, and it's learning. I think one thing is ask big. You'll be astonished what you could get. I remember when we took over ITV Studios, they asked me which room I would like, and I joked and said a floor would be nice. We got the 15th floor with panoramic views of London, private landlord, and if they keep talking to you, they want you. So I just kept saying the same price until they said yes and laughed. I think the negotiation was, they started at 75 grand a month. I said £1,800. Whatever they said in every meeting, I said £1,800. After 3 meetings, they burst out laughing and they said £1,800. Cool, right? So I think big. Ask for what you want and be really curious. We've found some remarkable spaces for activations just by talking. A lot of spaces are actually quite dormant. The cultural sector does have like declining audiences. A lot of places are really open to collaborations, or maybe they're only nighttime economy focused. So what's it doing in the day? You know, what are cinemas doing on weekdays when they're quiet? Can you get in there? Can you activate spaces in new ways? And we've done all of that, you know, just by, I don't know, being like curious children. This building's cool. We walk in the building and say, can we do something here? You know, literally, and you'd be amazed how many people say yes.
Love that insight, and I love the confidence piece with that, because you never know until you ask, right? So thank you for that, Christoph. Daisy, Ladajah, did you have any thoughts or feelings on that at all? No? Okay, sweet. So it's going to lead me on to the last question, which is actually just directly at you, Christoph. So get ready. So your question is, can you tell us a bit more about the toolkits you've developed / used?
Yeah, yes, okay. So the toolkit is a metaphor for the whole organization. We are not a service. Okay, we do not do programmatic delivery. We have programs that run, but we are an eternally open, accessible toolkit that anyone can pick up and use. And the way we design that is we sort of use this metaphor of flipping the brick and creating multiple doorways to the same solution. So our project management system has videos, templates, and everything you could need, from a discovery call with a client all the way to delivering a national campaign. And we've written it like almost like a chatbot decision tree. Do you know what I mean? And every time a young person maybe doesn't find it accessible, we adapt it. So this is why we're toolkits. We change to the needs of the user. Yeah, we try and make everything so it can be autonomous. Our kit room, which has thousands of pounds worth of kit, isn't locked. It's taped up with grids, with a spreadsheet on an iPad, and you search it like you did when you were playing Battleships. Do you know what I mean? We look at known behaviors that are replicable, and like maybe add a bit of gamification, a bit of fun to everything we do, because that's our values. But yeah, those kind of toolkits, I guess it's about the process modeling. And then it's that continuous agile feedback loop. We built this, we change, we're not fixed, right? Every day we have stand-ups. At the moment, we're building an app with a bespoke chat GPT. So our whole project management system can be run like a WhatsApp chat. A client's giving me a problem. Okay, is it a problem that you need management? No, what is the problem? And it takes you through different templates, and that's how we're trying to build it. So we look at existing youth behaviors, we collaborate with young people, and we try and find the most practical solutions. What the kind of the ideal outcome is WISE UK is a completely autonomous community pulling itself out of a marginalization or low economic situation through self-development. And the toolkit should just be there, and it should be replicable so any community can adapt it independent of state funding to generate wealth within their community. I don't know if that answers it, but they're very bespoke. But I think Okay, it's about adaptability. There is no set way of doing anything. You have a solution till you have a better solution.
Love that, Christoph. I think that answered it perfectly. And it almost feels like a little bit of a cliffhanger where it's just like, I'll give you a little bit. And hopefully if you get in touch with Christoph, you can find out maybe a little bit more about the methodologies and how you can bring the equitable model within your own youth work. So I think that's really important with engaging youth in creative pathways. I'd love to sit here and chat with more questions, but I'm very aware of the time that we have. So we've got 5 minutes left. And it brings us on to what we are doing next within this. And I think, as you remember from the start, we have our solution building sessions, which you saw the impact of which we have done so far within the first round of solution building sessions. We're opening this back up in July for those within the Sussex Coastal Corridor, and these sessions are open to each small local group, interested parties such as employers, cultural organisations, educators and young people, especially young people. And we're going to build upon today's session with the identified challenges and forward solutions within each local hub area. These are the dates for each local hub. So if you would like to get involved, these are the dates that are available. For each local hub, you have a question of which we will be answering like we did before, to kind of steer the focus of what this session entails. For New Haven, it is how do we work together to ensure that young people have access to good quality digital badges that they see the value of collecting. Bexhill, how do we work together to make it easier for young people to easily access the range of opportunities available? East Brighton, how can we collectively use existing tools, local networks and shared infrastructure to engage more young people in East Brighton with creative and cultural opportunities, if it couldn't be more of a mouthful. And Bognor and Littlehampton, which is what needs to change for young people to access their own creativity. So we've got a QR code, because we love a QR code, which will take you to the sign-up sheet. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that, or even just 30 seconds to scan that if you are interested. You can sign up today, or you can have access to the QR code. So it means that you can decide later down the line which sessions you want to attend. You can attend them all, but ideally, if you are within that local hub area, it'll be great to have that focus group so we can maximise and leverage the social impact behind it. So I hope everyone's scanned that. And our next knowledge exchange session is going to be on the 16th of September, and that's going to be sustaining and scaling creative opportunities and answering the question of what strategies and collaborations are needed to sustain and grow our work in the long term. The time is to be decided, but this will be more clear closer to the date. But if you enjoyed today's session, you can bring us back online to discuss this prompt with another range of speakers, which I hope to be as amazing as the ones that we had today. And it brings us on to kind of like our final thoughts and closing thoughts of today. And as you can see, the theme for us is that we love a poll and we love to engage you all and hear what your answers are truly. So again, there are 3 questions for you to answer for this poll. So kind of like 3 questions, so technically 3 polls in one, but we'd love to hear your honest insights on today's session because it can inform our future practices. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that, and then I'll talk to you about how you can be a partner of Coastal Catalyst and officially close our session. Amazing, I can see some people answering already. That's brilliant. Once I get to a little bit more, I would actually just start talking about the partnerships that you can have with Coastal Catalyst. So you can fill that out as I'm talking. Brilliant. As you're filling that out, I'll talk to you a little bit about partnerships. Again, please do keep filling this out as I'm talking because it'll be really helpful in terms of informing our future knowledge exchange sessions. But you can become a partner of Coastal Catalyst. We are one, and we can say that it's great to be in partnership with Coastal Catalyst and be able to bring opportunities around the Sussex Coastal Corridor. It's allowing you to connect potential with opportunity as you're building visible, inclusive pathways into the creative industries along the Sussex coast. Again, it is not limited to, but these are some of the things that you can achieve, such as promoting your opportunities to young people, and that will be on the ERIC app. They spoke at our last knowledge exchange session, and if you were there, you heard about the amazing things that they are doing. So it's great to be in connection with different partners and how they are leveraging that impact for young people. Skills and employability, so you can award digital badges. We love digital badges to allow young people to signal to future employers, and within the creative industry, the amazing work that they are doing, and backed by partners as well. And collaboration, you can be a part of this regional network of people. You can join a growing group of educators, employers, cultural organisations and local authorities who are working together to remove the barriers and open doors, and really echo the themes of today's session. So we will be sending out the link as you can join as a part of a partnership. But if you are stuck and you're thinking, oh, I'd actually like to find out more before I do commit, you can actually get in touch with Coastal Catalyst and read more about what Coastal Catalyst is doing by having a look at Future Creators UK on LinkedIn, social media, and on their website. And you can also find out a bit about us and what we are doing as Youth the Gap along Sussex, but also across the country, because we're starting to do things nationally now. So if you would like to find out more about what we do, we're always open to collaborations and partnerships. You can find us on social media, visit our website, or pop us an email. And that officially closes our session. So again, thank you so much for today. It's been a lovely group, inspiring panelists, and I hope you take away so much food for thought and apply that as you go out into your daily lives.